Hey, what's up, everybody? So, in today's podcast episode, I want to talk to you about the difference between man made capacity and you over functioning and burning yourself out and truly being at true capacity. And so, if you feel energetically unaligned right now and you feel like you are continuously moving forward one step, but then taking 10 steps back and you just tired, then I definitely want you to tap into this podcast episode. Hey, great day, everybody. So my name is Dr. TK, clinical psychologist and therapist, business coach, and mentor. If you are new here, welcome. We are all about designing a life-first business and focusing on a work-life integration. And so I knew that talking to our community through our coaching and mentorship programs and through Instagram, that this topic is definitely overdue in terms of me dedicating a specific podcast episode to it. So point number one is let's talk about the truth of man-made capacity. Okay. So I actually put out something on Instagram recently and in my community, and we talked about the differences. And when I defined man-made capacity, it looks like this. I'll give you an example. So I've done workshops at my church before and through warm referrals through sister churches, right? So let's just say if someone at my church hit me up and said, "Hey, TK, can you do a workshop on stress, right? Going into the holidays." Now, I know that I have a pretty busy next 3 weeks, but because of maybe the personal relationship, because I don't want to say no, I want to give back, it's for a church, I'm going to rationalize why I should make room and space for this workshop, whether it pays or not, even though I know I should not be doing a workshop, if you get me. So that is a simple example of going over your capacity, but you created that situation. So I want you to think about over the last few weeks, have you said yes to something or signed yourself up voluntarily for something when you knew deep inside and your gut was probably talking to you and saying like, hey, you doing too much? Let's talk about the illusion of I can handle it. So I want you to give yourself permission to take off your cape. Now, I know that, in the mental health community, we talk about how we know we're not supposed to be doing as much. We know that we take on other people's problems. And heck, if it's clearly it's confidential, we can't take it nowhere. And we have this illusion, I firmly believe, we as a people, as a industry, we have a illusion that we can handle more than what we can handle. So this is why I love talking about time audits, because the truth is, if you actually paid attention to your schedule, you will energetically realize like, oh, if I complete my week and this is all the things that I'm going to do this week, I'm going to be feeling successful, making money, but I'm also going to be extremely tired. Okay. So this is what I would encourage you to do so that you don't keep creating these traps for yourself to sign yourself up for things that are going to contribute to many micro burnouts that turn into a macro burnout. Okay. So many micro burnouts are little things that happen throughout the day. It could be at home. It can be in business. It could be at a job, anywhere. And then you get to Friday and you're like, oh my God, maybe the last thing, the icing on the cake, burns you out. But in reality, was it that last thing, or was it a collection of things that have happened, but you're not being aware of all these things that happened because you're just going about your day? Okay. So one thing that I would encourage you to do is to assess your week. So choose one of the first days of the week, either Sunday or Monday, right? Unless you want to do it on Saturday. But most people start on Sunday or Monday, the first day of the work week. And ideally, you want to pull out your calendar, because I believe that if it's not on my calendar, it does not exist. So pull out your calendar and just look at it before you add on anything and ask yourself, does this schedule look great? Does it feel great? Does it feel heavy? Do I feel tired? Just even listing out the obligations that I have to do. Let's just say if we're only looking at client-faced services. So you haven't added what date your money date is going to be, meaning you look at your finances. You don't look at, your gym schedule because your schedule changes every week. You're just simply looking at how many clients you got to see that week. And if you start to feel overwhelmed already, then why would you say yes to larger projects that are going to consume a lot of your energy and a lot of your time? So this is something that I do every single Sunday. It doesn't take that long. I pull out my calendar. I first assess to see energetically how I feel. And then the next phase is I'm going to look at the projects or things that I think I want to do or that my business requires me to do. And then I'm going to prioritize them. Now, I know that they have AI tools to do this, but AI tools don't read your energy, okay? And you also want to give yourself permission not to keep changing your mind, but as you go through your week, as you are assessing how you feel, give yourself permission to switch up instead of making one project all in one day for 3 hours because you're trying to build out something for a stream of income or something like that and you're new to it. Why don't you give yourself grace and say energetically, you know what, I'm tapped. I've given my all and I actually bit off way too much that I can chew. Now, this is something that I think comes up a lot, which is why we can acknowledge that we are doing too much, because we may also be comparing what we could do in the past in another life season, including last year, better yet 5 years, 10 years ago, compared to what we're doing now. So the example that I typically give my clients, because some people are like, how did you start your private practice? And I'm like, here's the thing, marketing the way that it's done now on social media, and a lot of free real estate that you can do like at no cost to you was not available for me back then. Like you would have to buy a newspaper ad. You would have to buy a spot on a billboard that's way more than what it is now. You would have to pay people to be on their Facebook and Periscope and things like that. So I got really good at building out networks and relationships. And so even while we are doing most of our business online, that does not stop me from building out relationships. It just means that I have to intentionally have tea time. I have to intentionally set up Zoom calls to get to know other people so that we can actually see what we can do together. But then I have the bonus of social media, email marketing, if I want to do Facebook ads, and I've been coached on Facebook ads because it's not just boosting a post to do a Facebook ad. I know how to get other types of traffic. So when I look at when I first started my private practice, that was 13 plus years ago, no kids, going through a life transition of a divorce, meaning I had plenty of time on my hands. If I looked at all the things that I was doing at that time, teaching at 3 different schools at the same time on different schedules, working overtime, milking the system, working 60 hours plus at a juvenile facility and other correctional facilities for overtime. Then I was also learning how to build my own business in the background. Then on top of that, I was building out my solo private practice that then turned into a group practice, not intentionally as fast as it did, in a very short period of time. A lot of lessons learned during that period. But if you ask me, like, how would I compare that to my life now and would I do it the same? It would be absolutely not, because I know myself well enough to know I don't even have that much stamina to be going that amount of hours per day like I did back then. I would operate off little to no sleep on some days and go to a club and be good. Girl, I can't do that right now. And so I cannot compare my 45-year-old self with my 35-year-old self. So that's something that you want to be aware of as well, is are you comparing yourself to, like, you are your worst critic. You're comparing yourself to an old version of yourself, and then you're very hard on yourself, right? Not to add to that, then we're not looking forward. We're not looking at the finish line, because you're also then on top of that comparing yourself to other people who are doing what you want to do in the industry, right? So 2 of those will take you out the game. Now, all of these are an illusion, I can do it all syndrome. And again, these are man-made. Now, let me give you an example of clearly the opposite, which is out of your control capacity, but you do have to be aware of it. So out of your control capacity, we'll go back to my church invited me to do a workshop somewhere, right? So unexpected capacity is I signed up for a workshop, let's just say a month ago. And then we're moving into the week before the workshop. And I realized, oh my gosh, even with my regular schedule, I didn't realize that I would feel this heavy. The operative word, y'all, is feel. I didn't know that I would feel this heavy. I didn't know that there would be other things going on in my life that would take my energy out. And so with that in mind, if I had a choice and I could, I would reschedule the workshop if it makes sense, right? But sometimes we cannot do that. So now what we have to do is intentionally, once we become aware of this, we need to see if we can pull some other things off my plate. So other things off my plate are not going to be client facing sessions, but it might be I'm not doom scrolling during that week that gets my brain on even more negative things. It may be I need to increase my sleep that week to make sure that I'm eating healthy, I'm consuming enough water, because I need to be energetically aligned with my nutrition so that my energy could feel good, right? But I want you to be just very aware of what are situations that are out of your control, like the political climate is out of your control, but having policies and procedures about no-shows in your private practice is within your control. So if that's your capacity issue because people aren't following through on what you had in your policies, then did you make them aware that the policies were there? Did you, like prime example, the no-show is a big deal in private practice. Whenever you get a new client, and I'll link up my no-show policy videos down below, when you get a new client, you should have at least 3 touch points with talking to them about your policies so that you don't freak out when they don't show up or they cancel at the last minute and then they talk about they not paying. So number 1 is you should have a verbal conversation about what they signed. 2, when you send off the paperwork, and clearly this is done in a consultation and in the intake, you want to go over what you're sending them and what's in there, because the no-show policy to me does apply for the intake session in person or online. There's 2 points. And then number 3, you're going to, as they start treatment, just make sure that they don't have any additional questions. Okay. I like receipts. I'm a quality assurance person, a Virgo through and through, which means that I'm really big on keeping receipts for my therapy practice, therapy contracts, coaching clients, whether it's terms and conditions, the sales page, checkbox terms and conditions, an actual contract. I have been challenged by people saying, I don't remember that, I didn't sign that, whether it be for private practice or coaching, and my office or me will kindly send the receipts. Every time we've sent the receipts, except for one person in mental health and one person in coaching, I ain't heard a peep since. They take advantage and or they pay their no-show fee if they want to continue, and we move forward. Why? Because people are humans, and when humans don't think that they have any error, they're going to externalize the blame. Now, if you make sure that your back office is in order, which is why I'm really big on systems and energetic alignment with how you show up in your business, when your systems are in order, nobody can argue against their own signature. Nobody can argue over an email system where it says you opened it and you clicked it 3 times. All I'm getting at here is the conversation around not diagnosing yourself with the wrong thing. I don't like self-diagnosis in general, but I mean, let's be real. If you're going to keep using the word capacity, use it in the right context. And matter of fact, don't even say it's capacity if it's not. Say, I mean, think about it like, how a client comes into the office, right? Like if my client came into the office or the telehealth session and said, oh man, I'm depressed. My first question should be, well, what does depression look like or feel like for you this past week? Because depression can be isolation. It could be suicidal ideation. It could be arguing. For kids, it could be fighting, right? It could be different for every other freaking day. And so instead of you diagnosing yourself with overcapacity, I will challenge you and comment in the box if you're watching this on YouTube, like, I'm up for the challenge. Like, stop misdiagnosing yourself and say, you know what? I got poor boundaries. You know what? I just need to learn how to say no. You know what? I just don't want to talk about this damn paperwork, right? Like, be real about your capacity, real issue, versus saying and covering it up as a diagnosis, because to me, that's a crutch. Like when someone has ADHD, true ADHD, and they can't focus on something, to me, it becomes a crutch when someone says why you didn't get something done. And instead of you taking a look at what happened within your ADHD symptomology that made you not get things done, you just simply say, oh, it's because I got ADHD. That doesn't fly. I'm sorry, when you're running a business. It doesn't fly. I do understand that everybody has different attention styles. It's good that you are aware of yours. But at the end of the day, your business isn't going to care about your ADHD when it's time to market and get those clients. So you got to figure out creative ways to address your symptomology in the bigger diagnoses. All right. So if you've enjoyed this short, brief podcast episode based on conversations we've been having in our community, let me know, what was your biggest takeaway in the comment box. If you're only listening on the audio podcast, I'd highly recommend come over here and chat with us on YouTube, because this is where we talk in the comments. I do respond to you. Okay. And so again, if you are new here, welcome. I would love to have you back. We are all about work-life integration, designing a life-first business, from a mixture of business trips and vlogs and fun to, of course, business workshops, from private practice to clinical and expansion streams of income, including digital products. I would love to have you back. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.